Ladies and gentlemen, the HDB resale prices has just gone up significantly. And if you think that the HDB prices has reached its peak, you ain't see nothing yet. Okay, so let's watch on and follow my analysis why I think HDB prices will go up a lot more. Let's watch on, shall we? So the news report just came out. The HDB resale prices in the last quarter has gone up by 2.7% in Q3. And the resale volume has also gone up far above expectation. The reason behind the significant increase is because there's just a supply crunch. This is something you're likely to be very concerned or very interested in, depending which position you're taking. And we will analyze that as well. Someone said, Mr. Lu, if you take 2.7% times 4 quarters, that's well above 10%. And that is probably true. But if you look at the last 12 months, the HDB resale prices has gone up, by about 8.07%. And this is still very significant. We are wondering whether, this kind of trend will continue or will it increase some more significantly or kind of taper off. Well, no, I'm going to try to give you an answer today. Before we look at the HDB, let's also take a look at the private property prices. The private property prices over the last quarter has actually went down. Not a lot, 0.7%. But if you kind of peel the onion and look into it, the overall prices of private property has actually decreased by 0.7% in the third quarter. And that's a reverse from the 0.9% increase in the previous quarter. But if you peel the onion, actually, the landed segment is the one that went down significantly by 3.4% in the third quarter, reversing a 1.9% jump. This kind of up down quite significant, surprisingly, for landed property. But for the non-landed one, actually went up a little bit by 0.1%. So that's kind of a moderation point from the 0.6% increase in the previous quarter. So if you were to look at it over a 1 year period, the non-landed private property segment, which is basically the condo and apartments, have actually went up by 4.05%. Still significant, but nowhere close to the HDB of 8%. And the landed segment seems to be kind of a different extent as well. The one that clearly everybody is more interested in is the condo and the HDB because this one affect a lot more people. So the question is, why is HDB resale property prices still increasing and increasing significantly? Well, it's both a demand issue and a supply issue. So when we look at the demand issue, the demand has actually gone up largely because of two reasons. Christine Sun, the chief analyst and strategist at Orange Tea, said that the demand is could be driven by more people upgrading within the same housing segments from smaller flats to bigger flats. So this is one part of the demand issue. And the other demand issue is now there's a lot of people staying in the private property segment realize that they could sell their condo at some astronomical prices and now downgrade to HDB and buy them, right? Now, of course, there's some waiting time and things like that. But, you have got demand from HDB, people who are upgrading the bigger size, and the other one are people who have actually moving down from private housing to HDB. So the demand comes from both sides, and squeezes really tight. Demand itself is one aspect, but the supply is also an issue because the number of new flats that meet the minimum occupation period in 2024 has actually gone down. This is clearly an issue. If supply were to cut down and demand were to go up, clearly this will cause resale prices to further increase. So the question really is, will HDB resale prices continue to increase at an astronomical rate? We'll have to look at demand and supply again. Let's take a look at what's going to happen in 2025. Now, analysts actually predicted that there will be even lesser new supply of HDB resale flat. To take a look at the supply of HDB resale flat, the biggest chunk of the flats that are coming into the market, you have to look at what happened 5 years ago, because there's a rule that says the HDB, once you get it from a BTO, you gotta wait for 5 years and meet the minimum occupation period, then you can sell it. These people who got it 5 years ago will come into the market, and quite a few of them will be waiting to sell it. Let's also evaluate what happened 5 years ago. 5 years ago is 2019, then 2020. So 2020 was exactly COVID period. And this was a period where there's a lot less HDB BTO being built because of construction limitation and things like that. The Senior Director of Data Analytics at Hudson, Mr. Lee Zitek, says that an estimated of 7,000 flats will reach a minimum occupation period. And this is a lot lesser than the estimated 12,000 in 2024. So from 12,000 flats that go in the market, now it's going to drop to 7,000 flats. And that's a very significant fall in the supply. So what do you think will happen to the HDB resale prices? It's going to go up. So we're now evaluated that the demand was likely going to continue. The condo sellers, they're going to fetch a huge profit from a condo. A lot of them would like to move down to HDB. And there are some people with small flats will go up. So the demand is likely going to stay. And the supply is going to cut down from those flats that's going to reach their MOP period from 12,000 to 7,000. So really, HDB resale flats are set to rise and rise and rise, and probably even more significantly. Now, whether you are happy with high HDB resale flats or not, depending on which position you're sitting, right? So are you a person that's sitting on a HDB resale flat and prices are escalating and causing your wealth to elevate, and you're feeling very happy about it? So this is one possibility. Second is that you may be a young person waiting to buy a resale flat and not willing to buy a BTO flat. Then there's going to be an issue with you because your cost of acquisition has gone up, or you have got children who want to buy a resale flat, right? So those kind of environment, really depending on where you sit will determine on how you feel about this HDB resale flat price escalation. Something for sure is that the BTO demand will likely to remain strong for one simple reason. The high HDB resale flats is going to provide the upper limit of what you can sell. And when you buy your BTO, it's going to be somewhere around here. You stand to make a huge resale profit. Even with the new HDB BTO classification where there's some clawback and things like that, the profits are still going to be very significant at least $200 over $1,000. So a lot of people will go for BTO and hoping that in 5 to 10 years' time, they'll sell it at some significant profit. So in the recent HDB BTO exercise, there were 8,573 flats being released, and there are 35,000 applications. And this is very significant because this is one of the highest application rate ever recorded since 2022 BTO exercise. And despite that, there's a lot of constraint with the new Plus and Prime projects. A lot of people just went for it, right? So the demand is going to be very significant. For those people who manage to sell their BTO at some huge capital gains, most likely they will progress to actually realize those profit and buy private property, be it condominium or landed property. And most likely, more part of it is going to go into condos. And therefore, this will provide some kind of support for condo prices. So I don't expect the private property prices to collapse or significantly go down because there's a lot of support from HDB resale flat high prices. And this is certainly something that we need to know as a trend that's going to happen. And the truth is, we've seen some of this in effect already. So there is a condominium called Norwood Grand, and it's at Woodlands South MRT station there. It was selling for $2,067 per square feet. And you know what? 84% of units were sold at launch. First of all, Woodlands ain't the most exciting place on earth. It's a little bit far north. And the price is actually at a high of $2,000 per square feet. But yet it attracted so many buyers, right? So many buyers. And, there are a lot of people blame foreigners, but the truth is, 99.7% of the buyers were Singaporeans and PR. So this is a strong domestic demand that we're talking about. This is something that's worth our attention. Also note that the HDB loans are also coming down because interest rate is coming down globally. And this will form some stimuli towards the demand of property. You can see the September home rates was about 2.5, 2.6%. Now it's going to about 2.4, 2.5%. So it is coming down pretty significantly. Many people ask me, Mr. Lu, how will we have a outcome where prices of HDB and private property start coming down or at least stop increasing like what we're seeing? I can think of two possibilities. You have to evaluate what's the likelihood of this scenario. The first scenario is government intervention. So there could be a possibility the government suddenly realize that, wow, this prices has been escalating too much. Let's deal with a heavy hand. and bring down the prices. I used to think that the government would do that. Now I've changed my mind, really, because for the last few government intervention and cooling measure, the government seems to launch very Mickey Mouse measures, right? And then it came to my realization that the government really do not want to shock the market. And there can be a possibility that after shocking the market, the overall economy have a collapse, just like what we see in Japan in the 1990s and also the China market right now. So I think there's a lot of fear in the Singapore government that overly trigger a collapse of property in Singapore could lead to that. This is my speculation, but I think I'm more right than wrong. The second possibility, an overall market crash in the property, can only be caused by economic collapse. But looking at the world economy right now, there's some softening, but I think the world economy is actually quite okay. So I don't think that the likelihood of this happening is going to be high. The only time this could happen is when there is an unanticipated shock. So by virtue is unanticipated means we cannot plan for it. For property market to take a hit, it got to be caused by something that is totally out of the norm, unanticipated. Can it happen? Yes, most of our economic shocks are in some sense unanticipated. But let's talk about chances, right? I think the chances is rather low, maybe even no for the short to medium term. If that is the case, if the government is not going to change their approach towards cooling measure, then I think the private property and the HDB prices will likely to go up and possibly, especially for HDB, go up significantly. So again, HDB prices going up significantly. Some are going to be happy, some are not going to be happy. Whether you're happy or not, depending where you sit. But I think bulk of Singaporeans will be quite happy, and this is something that will make most Singaporeans feel very comfortable. I just say it, right? This is paper wealth, but paper wealth is important to many people. I wouldn't discount that that paper wealth will make everybody in a more comfortable position. So let me know how you feel about this situation and how you feel about this future outlook, whether you think that I'm correct, okay, or you think I'm wrong. Let's discuss this in our comment section and also discuss this in our 1865 Telegram group. Remember, click like, subscribe, and I'll see you in a day or two. Bye-bye.